Hello, in this lecture we're going to continue on our discussion of supply and demand, chapter 4. And remember, our objectives are to state the law of demand and distinguish shifts in demand from movements along the demand curve. We are now looking at state the law of supply and distinguish the shifts in supply from the movement along the supply curve. Explain how the law of demand and the law of supplies interact to bring about equilibrium. Discuss the limitations of demand and supply analysis. So we've discussed demand already. We're going to move on to the supply portion of this now. So the supply side states that the quantity of a good supplied is directly related to the good's price. So we are now going to see what the change in price will have in terms of effect on the quantity supplied this time. So in other words, other things equal, quantity supplied rises as price rises, quantity supplied falls as price falls. So as the price rises, the producers of these items will produce more. Now, the supply is often a little bit more difficult to understand than demand, a little bit difficult to wrap your head around. It was for me, and the reason for that is that, or one reason could be that when we think about this term of price, well, like price rising, we often have this idea that, well, the price is controlled by the supplier. So if we're talking about, say, a donut shop, and we say that the price rises and they're going to produce more, well, if the donut shop raises their prices, then they have complete control over the raising of their prices. And that's where it can get confusing. The donut shop, in this case, we're saying if we're selling donuts, the donut shop does not have the power to control price. Why? Because there's a donut shop up the street, there's a donut shop around the block. So if you're in a market of perfect competition being the idea, then you're a price taker, meaning you have to sell the donut for a particular price, or else you'll go out of business. Can you sell the donut for a different price, a higher price? Yes. Will you sell any? No, because they go around the street. Now we can't differentiate the product. We can't make our donuts different than other donuts, and we'll talk about that later. But in the basic model, this model here, which is basic on purpose to tell us something that about the basis of these ideas, we're going to say that we're a price taker. Then later on, we can then account for this model and expand it to say, okay, well, what if we differentiate ourselves and what happens if different things happen? So keep that in mind here. So when we say that quantity supplies rises as price rises, that means that the prices rise in the market, and therefore the people that supply the donuts in this case will want to come into the market. More people will start to sell donuts and increase the quantity because there's more profit to be made. Quantity supplied falls. So again, if when the price falls, so when the price goes down, meaning the market price is going down, meaning that the price at which we can sell the donuts, that means that people are basically going to leave the market in terms of the suppliers. This law of supply occurs because when prices rise, firms substitute production of one good for another. So when prices rise, we may sell something else. Instead of donuts, we may sell danishes. Although those are pretty similar, might not be the best example, but that's one thing we can do. If we're not making any money in the donut market, then we may substitute and go to something else to produce in order to make higher profit margins. Assuming firms' costs are constant, a higher price means a higher profit margin. So remember, when we say there's a higher price, there's going to be a higher profit. Now again, if we're the person selling the donuts and we just say, oh, I'm going to raise the prices because I know that if I sell it for more money, then my profits go up. Again, not necessarily the case, because if we don't sell it at the market price, then we're not going to sell it. So when we say that the prices are going up, we're basically saying that the market prices are going up. We're a price taker, and therefore we are now able to sell them at that higher price, and that should increase the profits. So a supply curve is the graph representation of the relationship between price and quantity supplied. So we've got the price on the vertical axis, the quantity supplied on the horizontal, and in this case we have the upward sloping line. The supply curve is an upward sloping. So remember that we only have two factors here. We're going to change the price, and that's going to be the independent variable, and see what happens to the dependent variable being the quantity. And so at any given price, we're going to say here's the supply curve, and that will be the quantity that will be produced at that price. So as price increases, quantity supplied increases. So notice if the price goes up, and again, it's not just that the store made the market price goes up, that means that more people are going to go into the market and or stores are going to produce more because they can make more profit in that case, and that means that the quantity, of course, will then go up. So any change in price will cause a change along the supply curve. So shifts in supply. So if something happens other than, if we take a look at this graph, other than just price changing, we can take a look at that. That's going to cause a shift in the supply curve. Okay, quantity supplied refers to a specific amount that will be supplied per unit of time at a specific price. Other things constant. So we're talking about a specific point in the line so the quantity supplied refers to a specific point in the supply curve. So we're not talking about the entire supply curve, specific point, quantity supplied. Quantity supplied, a change in price changes quantity supplied, a change in price causes a change in quantity supplied, and a change in price causes movement along the supply curve. So we're going to contrast quantity supplied with supply. Supply itself, supply refers to a schedule of quantities of good a seller is willing to sell per unit of time at various prices, other things constant. So now we're talking about the entire curve, the set of points. So it refers to the entire supply curve rather than just a point on the supply curve. Supply tells us how much will be sold at various prices, so that it'll give us the whole set at various prices. Supply is a change in anything other than price that affects the supply curve, changes the entire supply curve. So if we talk about a change in price, we're talking about movement along the supply. If we talk about anything other than a change in price that will affect the supply curve, then the supply curve is going to shift. All right, and a change in the entire supply curve is a shift in supply.